have one person that's their MO. That's a scapegoat. We got him. The whole operation is over. We solved it. Now, forget about it. And that was the case with Martin Luther King. Same MO. They used that same MO over and over and over. Timothy McVeigh. He was the only one that did
about that. Timothy McVeigh. Yeah, he was MK Ultra.
And there were other bombs in the building that were reported initially and then deleted from the media coverage, and on and on and on we go.
Okay. JFK. We are told that this guy just shot him, and then another guy heroically shot the guy who shot the guy. And then, as you learn in the Chaos book, was visited by Jolly West while he was in prison, and then he was suddenly insane the next day when the judge saw him. Who was involved? Do you believe the official storyline of how JFK was killed?
Absolutely not. For starters, have you read the book The Secret Team by Fletcher Prouty? Oh, I would recommend that book to everybody. Fletcher Prouty had high-level access in Department of Defense and CIA tickets, but they forgot to get him to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So when he saw all this, how they played all these things, he came out and he wrote The Secret Team. And in The Secret Team is his witness account of the JFK assassination. And there was a well-known CIA operator from Vietnam up until that point named Edward Lansdale. And there's a photograph of the three mysterious men being walked by the sheriff in front of the book depository. And walking by them, as one of them smiled, was Edward Lansdale, well-known CIA operative. And Prouty worked with him. He knew what he looked from behind. He knew about the ring on his finger. And he identified Lansdale as a CIA operative. George Bush made this mysterious phone call that day claiming that he was in Dallas. Now, George H.W. Bush, longtime CIA operative, although he tried to deny it. Going all the way back to the Cuban Missile Crisis, he was a CIA operative. And when he was president, CIA in the White House, aka Iran-Contra, and then they promoted him. So Edward Lansdale was there. There's no question about that. Bush called in and said, I think something may happen today, and I don't know. I just wanted to warn you about it. I'm in Wisconsin or wherever he said he was. He was in Dallas, Texas, and phoning in a fake phone call that day. Oswald, without question, had been recruited by the CIA, sent over to Russia to try to be a double agent, and came back. Was he the only shooter? Absolutely not. The CIA was then working with the mafia, and JFK had fired Allen Dulles, the devil incarnate, as we've called him. And Allen Dulles, he fired Allen Dulles. So Allen Dulles was having secret meetings with other CIA officials that were now out of there, how to get rid of JFK, because he was his arch enemy. He fired him. This guy was a power-hungry director. So they were having meetings on how to get rid of JFK rather. And so when the murder happened and the Warren Commission was put together, guess who was in charge of the Warren Commission?
Allen Dulles.
Allen Dulles, who coached all the CIA witnesses what to say, what not to say, and forbade some of the others from even testifying at all. They put the Fox in charge of the hen house. I mean, come on. And then the questions they asked, as you know, were just absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, I think that was a CIA hit, and they may have employed some mafia connections to carry it out because that was their mafia assassination program.
Exactly, and LBJ was very involved in all that in Dallas. And so
he was an evil man.
He was an evil man. I believe he knew that he was going to get shot because they wanted him in the position, because they wanted to go to war every single time. When they decide they want war, and what did LBJ do? Henry Kissinger, that they just went to town in Vietnam, went to town in Cambodia. I mean, they just didn't stop. The murder of Americans, not realizing that this is how things work. Okay, what about Pearl Harbor?
Pearl Harbor, Admiral Ace Lyons. I don't know if you've heard of Admiral Ace Lyons. I had a radio program called The Intelligence Hour several years ago, and Ace had become a friend of mine because we were working on exposing Benghazi. And Ace Lyons was commander of the Pacific Fleet back during that time. And I asked Ace Lyons about Pearl Harbor, and he goes, I am still angry to this day. And I said, why? He goes, because they knew the attack was coming. They knew where it was going to happen in Pearl Harbor and when. And they told no one, and they let it happen on purpose. That's from the commander of the Pacific Fleet. I would say that's a pretty credible witness. So yeah, that was a false flag.
They've admitted that. They admitted they heard it was going to happen, and how else were you going to get Americans to be on the side of this war that had nothing to do with us?
Exactly, and it's that MO is repeated on and on and on and on and up through Iraq. where the Pentagon even had the Pentagon Analyst Program, and they were going on Fox News, and all these generals that were recruited in this propaganda effort, going on pushing the Iraq War. You remember on Fox News and others, there were these generals on promoting. Well, that was a propaganda operation by the Department of Defense called the Pentagon Analyst Program. So
this is why you have to learn about Sigmund Freud, and then behind him Edward Bernays, and learn about the World War II propaganda.
Yeah.
Make people every day just see Germans as the enemy, enemy, enemy. Then we have this big event happen, and the boys sign up, and they go to war, and they get killed, and it is the exact same thing every time. You know, remarkable intelligence failure. Now we're being drafted in because we have a right to defend ourselves, and we must get involved now with this war that has nothing to do with us. And now we're in the Middle East, which is nowhere near us, but we're. And so, which brings us to 9/11. Your opinion? My opinion,
as a criminal investigator, as a former CI officer, 9/11 was not the act of a bunch of poorly flight-trained terrorists that executed an unbelievably meticulous piloting of those aircraft. Even pilots, there's pilots for 9/11 Truth now, and they say we could not have done that. Experienced pilots could not have made those maneuvers. Not possible. And then we go to the passport issue, and we go to the Tower 7, which was a controlled demolition.
Obviously.
You talk to any structural engineer, and I have. Oh, that was a controlled demolition. I mean, it was perfect. And then you look at the facts that just don't add up, and the facts that were left out of the 9/11 Commission report, and then the ridiculous claims they made, the lack of airplane parts, no landing gear, no engines, which we talked about. So all of that put together, and the fact, I think George W. Bush blacked out, I think it was 40 pages of the 9/11 report dealing with Saudi Arabia. And the report came out, the 9/11 Commission report came out, but those pages were blacked out, and he refused to unredact them. So wait a minute, this report was supposed to be for the American people on what happened, and you blacked all these pages out? What in the world? I do not think that it was a bunch of poorly trained or untrained terrorists that did it. I think there was another source behind it. I think it was intentional. And I'm going just from a criminal investigative perspective, just looking at the evidence, what evidence we have, that was an intentional act. And it would fall right into the MO that you and I are talking about. Horrible event. Because human life does not matter to the shadow government deep state, or especially the CIA. It does not matter. They're pawns on their chessboard. They don't care that 3,000 people were horribly killed that day, but it achieved the aim of gutting the U.S. Constitution, bringing in the horrific Patriot Act, giving the CIA unthinkable authority for secret prisons and torture beyond waterboarding and secret renditions and all of that. The FBI, the ability to spy on Americans came out of the Patriot Act. So it was the perfect national security state energizer that the Patriot Act was, and 70 of the congressmen and senators that read the Patriot Act didn't even read it. They just signed off on it without even reading the bill. So, yeah, I mean, that's my view. And it's
my view as well.
Just factually.
The economy has been a major burden on the average American. Wages are flat, expenses are up, and it is very hard to manage to pay all the bills without using credit cards. If you're a homeowner and you're frustrated with that cycle, I need you to make a 10-minute no-obligation phone call today to my friends at American Financing. Interest rates are finally coming down. So if you're constantly carrying a credit card balance each and every month with a rate in the 20s, American Financing can show you how to put your hard-earned equity to work and get you out of debt. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are saving their customers an average of $800 a month. And if you get started today, you may not even have to make next month's mortgage payment. So call today at 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. Again, that's AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. Yeah, I mean, you look at these things and you go backwards, and you, like I said, it just follows that same MO every single time. Horrific event, and then yelling at everybody, don't even ask any questions of what we do next.
Yes.
If you do, you're a terrorist sympathizer. You know, like you all you care about is defending the terrorists in the Middle East. You don't care about your safety. And I think there was just one lone congressman who said we absolutely should not be signing the Patriot Act. And you know, the media came down on him very hard. How could you have this perspective? 3,000 Americans have been killed. Again, that emotional condition conditioning to make us not even think about actually the probability that it's just an evil government that is willing to kill people to further its imperialistic aims, whatever that may be, whether it's they want oil, whether they want more land. And so I'm hopeful that people wake up to this, because now that I am very aware of this pattern, now that I have confronted the evil of our government, I am deeply fearful, as you said, for Kennedy and Trump, and recognizing that if you're talking about coming up against the deep state is quite the enemy to come up against, because they have killed presidents, in my view, and they will kill as many Americans as it takes to retain their power. And I think we have the right team to do it. I think even having it be Kennedy, with the history of the Kennedys and Trump and his ability to just keep going.
It's remarkable.
It is remarkable that we really do have this chance. And at the same time, people waking up to what the mainstream media is. So Operation Mockingbird is failing.
Yes.
Which for the first time, it doesn't work anymore. So they can keep that operation going. It's good for business for me.
That's right. It is. It is.
So,
I mean, it's so encouraging.
Yeah, it is. It's very encouraging. And so now you can hear them starting to have the conversation of, we've got to get a handle on these podcasters with their misinformation. And
let's go ahead, make our day.
Make our day, because the people are awake. Okay. Give everybody the name of your book and where exactly they can find it. Guys, this is a must read. You absolutely must read this book.
It's called Twilight of the Shadow Government: How Transparency Will Kill the Deep State. I wrote it at some risk because the CIA blacked out redacted information in my last book, From the Company of Shadows, that was unclassified, violation of Executive Order 12356. It's a felony. And so I knew that in this book, they were going to either redact the majority of the revelations that we write about, or sit on it for a couple of years. So I gave it to the CIA and let them have it for 3 months. There's an old law that said they have to get it back to you in 30 days. They'd never abide by that, based on constitutional freedom of speech, but they never abide by that. So I let them sit on it for 3 months. And after 3 months, Kent Heckenlively, my courageous co-writer, we said, all right, they asked me for approval. Can we send it to the publisher? And I said, do it. So we sent it to Skyhorse and published it before the CIA approved it. And it's the only way I could get this out. I took some personal risk, which I'm glad to do, because it's so important. We don't know what the CIA is going to do, whether they're going to try to take my royalties from the book, which they usually try to do. I mean, I've already been threatened, poisoned, broken into. It's like, whatever, but someone had to take the risk to do that finally, to expose what the CIA is.
Where can people go to support you, aside from buying the book? Like, is there anywhere where people can go to just support you in general? Because I just think that when you see someone like this, who's actually it's funny that you say Skyhorse published it, because when my producer first said, do you want to get this guy on? I instantly went, okay, is this going to be a limited hangout? A limited hangout is when, like, you know what I'm talking about? The CIA allows people in the CIA to come out and pretend. And then when I saw that Skyhorse was publishing, I said, oh no, this means that the publishers will not publish his book, and he has to go to a more independent type of publisher, because I'm dealing with that same thing. I'm not allowed to publish my book anywhere. Even though I had a New York Times top-selling first book, they basically go, oh no, this girl can't be published anymore. So when I saw that, I said, oh no, this guy's the real deal. They're obviously closing doors on him intentionally.
And I violated my NDA. No CIA officer ever done that.
We got to support you, and we got to make sure people know your name, know what you're doing, and so anything shady happens to this guy, we all know who did it. But where can people just go to support you in general?
Well, there's my YouTube channel, Kevin Ship 1, and most of my videos there are free. I'm on Twitter now, X. It's at Kevin_Ship, and I post things about this regularly. Or they can find me through Skyhorse. And the book, Twilight of the Shadow Government, is a mission for me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep my royalties. I have some...
If not, please start not a GoFundMe, Give, Send, Go.
Yeah.
And with a Christian company, Give, Send, Go, and we will support you, because I'm like... we are, and it's just funny that you're Christian, because I have just felt this is the Christ is King year, and Christ is truth, the way that you must just follow the truth and be willing to face the consequences. I have done that this year. And it's just funny to hear your background story. Oh, my life got saved because people were praying over me. I left the CIA because a woman randomly said, do you know about Jesus Christ?
Yeah.
And here you are. Yeah. And you realize why you were saved when you were young.
Yes.
Why you were chosen to go through CIA. You weren't chosen by the CIA. I believe you were chosen by the Lord to do that.
Yeah.
And because he wanted you to see it up front so that you could have, you would be able to speak to the public about what we are actually confronting. And you have survived the poison. I mean, you've got like a lot of lives going on here, cat.
Yeah.
And so in every capacity that we can support people like this, you guys. I am like, we've got to do it. This is what the people that are just trying to tell the truth. So if you do start a Give, Send, Go, if they try to take your royalties, please email us. We will be the first people to be like it. And that's what I've done. I'm knocked off of YouTube. I can't make any money on YouTube. And so we turned to locals, and people, $1 a month, $2 a month. The people are doing this. We exist because of the people.
That's the way to do it.
It's the best way. I don't care about the publishers. I don't care about any of that stuff, because
it's the only way to do it.
We are creating a network of people that know that Christ is king and that the truth wins in the end. And we just have to keep going.
My wife Sue has set up a GoFundMe page, so we'll see what happens.
To go to Give, Send, Go, please.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, tell her to go to Give, Send, Go. And if you send it to us, we will
will do.
Tell people to support you guys. And they will. Trust me, my audience, they're hardcore.
Awesome.
They don't care what the media says. They actually like it. Like I said, if the media calls you a conspiracy theorist,
that's awesome.
They're like, we can trust them.
They probably will come after my royalties. I know that in advance. Whether they're going to try to say there's something classified in this book, let's get them for that. Well, I was a classifying authority. I know what's classified and what's not. They can try to make that accusation. I don't think they will, because there is the possibility that they don't want publicity for this book, because no CIA officer has ever done this before, and it does not make them look good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to include the link to his book below. We're going to hope and pray that they don't take his royalties, but if they do, who cares? Because we are bigger than the CIA. We are.
That's right.
That is the reality. There's more of us than there are of them. And hopefully there are some CIA agents watching this that are getting the clue here. Like, you're working for people that don't really care about you. So why don't you join the people, join the freedom, join the truth movement. Kevin, I cannot tell you, it has been such an honor to have you.
Same here.
These are the conversations that just enrich me, enrich my audience, help us to learn and grow, and remind people that the truth team is winning.
That's right.
I really do believe
Amen to that.
Yeah. Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
me.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du noch?
If you've heard that sound from Babbel before, I bet you do. Babbel is the science-backed language learning app that actually works. With quick 10-minute lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts, Babbel gets you on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. With over 16 million subscriptions sold and a 20-day money-back guarantee, just start speaking another language with Babbel. Right now, up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Spotify podcast. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify podcast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
What up, y'all? It's Joe Budden, here to talk about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money while watching football. You can get up to 100 times your money.
Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Just download the Prize Picks app and use code SPOTIFY. That's code SPOTIFY on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
To watch episodes of Financial Audit a week earlier, check us out on YouTube. This is so beyond. You've destroyed your life. You have destroyed your life, and I need that to be clear. I'll feel bad about it, and it's okay for you to feel bad about it, but I need to be crystal clear that you have destroyed your life. Your mindset on money is so